What if I told you the things she calls too much are often the very things she secretly craves? And the reason she doesn't say them out loud is because she needs to feel safe enough to want them. When men hear the word dirty, they think physical, but what women often mean is emotional intensity, depth, boldness, a man stepping slightly outside the polite, predictable script. As a psychologist, I can tell you this. Many women are starving for a kind of masculine presence they rarely experience. Not aggression, not disrespect, but contained power. The first dirty thing she secretly wants? She wants you to look at her like you actually see her. Not a quick glance, not nervous scanning. I mean steady, grounded eye contact that lingers just long enough to make her heartbeat shift. Most men break eye contact too quickly because they're afraid of being perceived as creepy. But when your energy is calm and your gaze is intentional, not invasive, it triggers something primal. It tells her, I'm not intimidated by you. Women rarely admit how much they crave that. Second, she wants you to notice the subtle details she doesn't announce. The new scent, the slight change in tone, the moment her voice drops when she's emotional. Instead of saying, you look nice, say something precise. That color changes your whole energy. Then pause. Precision creates intimacy, and intimacy feels dangerous in a good way. Third, she wants you to take the lead without asking for permission every step of the way. When you hesitate excessively, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Are you sure? It feels safe but uninspiring. Decisiveness signals strength. Let's go here. Calm. Simple. No over-explaining. Leadership in small moments builds attraction in larger ones. Fourth, and this one surprises many men, she wants you to challenge her occasionally, not argue, not dominate, but refuse to automatically agree with everything she says. If she says all men are the same, instead of defending yourself emotionally, smile slightly and say, you haven't met all men. Confidence without defensiveness. That subtle resistance creates spark, because polarity requires friction. When you are overly agreeable, you become neutral. When you stand grounded in your own perspective, she feels contrast, and contrast fuels desire. Here's the deeper truth. Many women are socially conditioned to appear good, composed, controlled, but inside they want to feel chosen, wanted, slightly undone, not by force, not by pressure, but by presence. She wants you to lower your voice when the moment gets intimate, to speak slower, to create space instead of filling every silence. Silence when confident feels charged. If you rush to fill it, the charge disappears. The dirty energy she craves isn't about explicit words. It's about tension, the kind that makes her wonder what you're thinking and hope it's about her. When you sit back instead of leaning in desperately, when you hold your composure while she talks, when you smile without immediately explaining it, that mystery activates her imagination. And imagination is more powerful than any explicit comment. You don't need graphic lines, you need grounded intent. Most women won't say, I want you to look at me like that. But when you do it right, her body tells you. Her breathing changes. She leans closer. Her tone softens. And that's where the shift begins. There is another truth women rarely confess. She wants you to claim space around her. Not in a loud way, not in a possessive way, but in a way that makes her feel chosen in the moment. When you're walking together, she secretly notices whether you guide gently with your hand at the small of her back when crossing a busy street. Not gripping, not controlling, just present, protective, a subtle signal that you are aware of her. Protection, when done calmly, feels intoxicating. She won't say, I want you to make me feel small in a safe way, but many women crave that contrast. The world forces them to be strong, independent, constantly proving themselves. Around a grounded man, she wants to exhale. The fifth dirty thing she secretly wants, she wants you to speak with intention about your desire without being crude. There is a massive difference between vulgarity and grounded masculinity. Vulgarity seeks reaction. Grounded masculinity states truth. If the moment feels charged, instead of making a joke, say something measured like, you have no idea how distracting you can be, then hold eye contact. No grin, no apology. The restraint makes it powerful. Restraint signals control, control signals safety. Safety allows arousal. Women rarely admit this because society teaches them to downplay their attraction. But when a man expresses desire calmly, without begging, without pressure, it gives her permission to feel hers. The sixth thing, she wants you to pull back occasionally, not to manipulate, not to punish, but to show that your life is full beyond her. If you are always available, always responding instantly, always initiating, there's no emotional tension. Desire needs space. When you end a conversation first, while energy is still good, "I've got to run, this was fun," you create emotional residue. She thinks about you afterward. The brain replays unfinished interactions. That replay builds anticipation. Anticipation is often stronger than fulfillment. And here's something men overlook. She wants you to be slightly unpredictable, but emotionally stable. Unpredictable in humor, in perspective, in the way you respond playfully to her teasing, but stable in your mood, stable in your confidence. If she senses that her validation determines your emotional state, attraction weakens. If she senses that you are centered regardless of her reaction, attraction strengthens. There's something deeply compelling about a man who enjoys her, but does not depend on her. That emotional independence feels dangerous in the best way. Another secret? She wants to feel that you can handle her intensity. If she gets moody or sarcastic and you shrink or become defensive, she feels bigger than you. That kills polarity. But if you smile calmly and say, "You're cute," when you're dramatic, without mockery, just steadiness, you subtly lead the emotional tone. Leadership in emotion is powerful. And finally, in this layer, she wants to feel that when the moment turns intimate, you won't rush it. Rushing signals insecurity. Slowing down signals confidence. When you lower your tone instead of raising it. When your movements become deliberate instead of frantic. When your touch, if appropriate, lingers half a second longer than neutral. Those micro moments create electricity. It's not about crossing lines. It's about amplifying tension safely. And she will rarely verbalize, "I want you to take your time with me." But when you do, her body softens, because she feels both seen and contained. That combination is powerful, and most men never learn it. There's a deeper layer most men never see. She wants you to notice when the energy shifts and act on it without asking for a roadmap. Women rarely say, "Now, this is the moment," but they feel it. The conversation slows, her voice softens, the playful teasing fades into longer pauses. She holds your gaze a little longer than usual. And here is the seventh dirty thing she secretly wants. She wants you to recognize that shift and lean into it calmly, not with sudden intensity, not with nervous excitement, but with grounded presence. When the moment becomes quiet, don't rush to break it. Let it breathe. Let the silence stretch just enough for her to feel the tension. Most men panic in silence. They fill it with jokes or random questions because they feel exposed. But silence is where emotional electricity lives. When you hold that space without fidgeting, without over-talking, without looking away, she feels something different. She feels your composure, and composure is seductive. Another thing she rarely says out loud, she wants you to surprise her with bold honesty, not confessions of love, not dramatic speeches, simple, grounded truths. "You're hard to read sometimes, and I like that." Or you act confident, but there's a softer side to you. When you articulate something about her that others don't notice, she feels exposed, but in a safe way. Exposure creates intimacy. Intimacy creates heat. And here's the part that might challenge you. She wants to feel your restraint. Yes, restraint. If the chemistry builds and you immediately try to escalate too far, the tension collapses. It becomes predictable. But when she senses that you could move closer, and you choose not to rush, her imagination fills in the rest. Imagination is far more powerful than explicit action. She starts wondering what you're thinking. She starts replaying your tone. She starts questioning why your presence feels heavier lately. That questioning is desire-forming. There's something incredibly powerful about a man who can sit in charged energy and not lose control. Control does not mean suppression, it means mastery. When your breathing stays slow, when your posture stays relaxed, when your voice lowers instead of speeds up, you communicate emotional strength without saying a word. And women crave emotional strength because it makes them feel safe enough to surrender into feeling. She won't say, "I want to feel slightly overwhelmed by your presence," But when your energy is steady and intentional, that's exactly what happens. Now let's talk about playful dominance, not control, not force, but tone. If she teases you and expects you to fold, don't hold her gaze and say calmly, careful, smile slightly, let her wonder what you mean. That subtle assertiveness creates spark. You're not overpowering her. You're showing that you're not easily moved. The truth is, many women are tired of being emotionally larger than the men they date. When you remain centered while she tests boundaries with humor or sarcasm, she feels relief. Relief that she doesn't have to carry the emotional weight. And here's something crucial. She wants to feel chosen, not chased. There's a difference. Chasing feels needy. Choosing feels powerful. When you speak to her as though you are evaluating her too, not harshly but confidently, you shift the dynamic. Instead of trying to impress her, ask her questions that reveal depth. Then listen without nodding excessively. Measured responses. Slight smiles. Calm energy. She feels the shift, and once she feels that shift, the friend energy dissolves. Not because you forced it, but because you changed the emotional temperature of the room. And temperature is everything. Now let me give you the truth. Most men are never taught. What women secretly want is not a bad boy. They want a man who is emotionally dangerous but morally safe. Dangerous in presence, safe in character. They want to feel that you could walk away at any moment, not because you're careless, but because you value yourself deeply. Self-respect is intoxicating. If she feels you are afraid to lose her, she relaxes too much. If she feels you enjoy her but do not depend on her, tension rises. That tension is attraction. Here's what this really comes down to. She wants you to own your desire without apology. Not crude comments, not pressure, just clarity. Instead of hiding behind friendliness forever, say something grounded like, I'm not going to pretend I don't feel a certain energy when we talk. Then hold the silence. Don't over-explain. Don't justify. Don't beg for a response. Let her sit with it. When a man can express interest without collapsing into insecurity, it changes everything. Because now she feels seen, and being seen is powerful. Another thing she'll rarely admit, she wants to feel slightly nervous around you. Not unsafe, not anxious, but aware. Aware that your attention is focused. Aware that your gaze carries weight. Aware that if she steps closer, something might shift. That subtle nervousness is chemistry, but chemistry only exists when there is uncertainty. If she knows exactly where she stands with you at all times and that you will accept any behavior, desire fades. Boundaries are attractive. When she cancels last minute and you calmly say, no problem, let me know when you're sure, instead of over-accommodating, you signal value. When she pushes your buttons and you smile instead of reacting emotionally, you signal strength. When you leave the interaction first sometimes, you signal independence. Independence builds curiosity. Curiosity builds desire. And here's the final layer. She wants you to be the emotional container. If the moment becomes intense, she doesn't want you to panic. She doesn't want you to rush. She doesn't want you to lose control. She wants to feel that you can handle the energy, that you are grounded enough to lead it, that you are present enough to feel it, and that you are disciplined enough not to abuse it. That combination, strength, restraint, intention, is rare, and rarity is attractive. But none of this works if it's an act. If underneath the techniques you still feel unworthy, she will sense it. Everything begins internally. When you believe you are choosing her, not trying to earn her, you move differently. You speak differently. You breathe differently. You hold eye contact differently. Energy shifts before words do. So here's the equation I want you to think about. Attraction = self-respect plus emotional control plus intentional tension. Which one are you missing right now? Self-respect, emotional control, or intentional tension? Write your answer in the comments and be honest with yourself. If this opened your eyes even a little, like the video, subscribe and share this with one man who keeps wondering why women lose interest. Because sometimes it's not about doing more, it's about becoming stronger, calmer, and harder to shake. And that changes everything.